Ciao, welcome back to our course of Italian for Beginners. This is lesson 23, lezione 23. I hope you are enjoying these lessons and I hope they're being useful. And so please do let me know how you're getting on and if you're finding something a little bit difficult. Let me remind you that I'm very happy if you do leave a comment and questions that I can answer, and I'm very happy to upload more videos on on the same topic if necessary. Keep in mind that everybody is when they start learning a language is exactly the same situation. So a question from one person would be very useful for others as well. Right, we have covered quite a few things so far, and what we're going to see today, which is at some point there is a question that comes normally. I said, but how do I know what changes, what agrees with a gender or number? Do I need to change everything, or how do I know? So let's see a table that hopefully is going to help you. So let me just share something. This is a very interesting table. Let me see where it is. That it comes from a different book that I normally use. Here it is. So this book is for children, for Italian children, and it is a book that children use at the age between 9 and 10. But normally, as I said before, in Italy, at least, children start studying grammar at the age of 8. So at this point, meaning at the age of 9 and 10, they do know quite a bit already. So this, as I said, comes from a book which is for children at the age of, as I said, 9, 10, exercises to do between during the summer, between 1 year and the other one, which would be the last year. So let's see what Italian children study. Joking aside, this is quite useful, as I said, because it shows what changes in a sentence. So we've seen different parts of the sentence, and some things change, some don't. So let's see and what does and what doesn't. So, le parti del discorso, meaning all the different the parts that we have in a sentence, starting from pronouns. Pronouns are like the very first things, some of the very first things that we did when we're talking about ourselves. I, you, he, she, etc. Ourselves or others. So as you can see, we have different boxes. So the pronouns then includes other groups, the articoli, which do include other couple of groups, nouns, adjectives, and verbs. We're not going to go into very, very deep into these because some things are not necessary to what we're doing, and they would just make things sound a little bit too complicated, and there is really no need for it. So let's see what you can find useful. So as I said, pronomi is the pronouns. Pronouns, as we said, we have and everything has obviously a name. As I said before, you don't need to know all the grammar terminology in order to study language, unless you're interested in it, obviously. But as long as you know just a few, In fact, definitely you don't need to know all this really, as long as you know what a pronoun is, articles, nouns, adjectives, verbs. You don't need then the names of the specific types of pronouns, types of nouns, etc., adjectives. Um, so, as we said, pronouns, one of the pronouns that changes according to number, obviously, depending on if it's singular or plural, is those ones that are io, tu, lui, lei, noi, voi, loro. So these ones change only in numbers, not in gender. You cannot see if the person we're talking about or talking to is masculine or feminine. Possessivo is we have done this recently when we say my, your, his, her, our, etc. So these ones, they do change according to number and gender. If you haven't looked at the video about the possessives, do so. So you can see that in fact we have like 4 groups, if divided in 4 groups. So the masculine, the feminine, the singular, and the plural. We also have questo and quello. Obviously, they're giving you just a few examples. They're not giving you all of them. So this, that, and these, plural, and those, plural as well. So they change also according to gender and number. And then we have the numbers. So numbers can be uno, due, tre, quattro, etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, also first, second, third, fourth, etc. So when we are counting, like 1, 2, 3, etc., those ones do not change in feminine or masculine, apart from uno, you can say una. That is the only one really that change from you have the masculine or feminine, but not the others. And however, if you're counting like first, second, third, etc., those ones do change, and we can have singular and plural, feminine, masculine, and feminine. For example, the first person, person, obviously, no, it's obviously person is a feminine noun, persona, so you say prima. So in fact, if let's say there is a race, a context or something, so you can have the first person. If it's masculine, they would be primo. If it's a feminine, it would be prima. We don't actually need a context for that. If you have a group, for example, you want to say the first ones, you do the same in English. The first ones would be primi. And if it's masculine, or prime if it's feminine. Also, we have the words we used to say some. Those ones change in gender, so masculine and feminine. We're going to skip the last 2. Articoli, we have seen the articles, and we have seen we have obviously masculine, feminine, singular, and plural. So the definite and indefinite articles we have seen. We also have seen, we haven't looked at how they are called, this partitivo, but just the last lesson, we have seen quite a few only of these partitives, which means they are used to mean some, so part of a quantity. If you remember, there are some churches or some museums, etc. So these ones do change according, as we've seen exactly in the lesson, according to what comes after. Obviously, they need to agree. Nomi, which are nouns. Here there are many types of nouns, but let's not worry about the type of nouns. Nouns normally are either masculine or feminine. And then obviously they can be singular and plural. Sometimes for a certain types of nouns, we have the masculine and the feminine as well. So, for example, if I talk about profession, it's a noun, and we can have, for example, let's say a doctor, masculine would be dottore, that is a masculine, and dottoressa is the feminine. Otherwise, remember the object are either masculine or feminine, they don't change gender, only number, so singular and plural. So these are just different types of nouns, but let's not worry about those now. Adjectives, we do have different types of adjectives. In general, we said the adjectives are those yeah, when we mention adjectives, we immediately think about those adjectives that describe a quality of a noun. In fact, they are at the first position. So those ones definitely change and agree with the noun they're describing. So they will change in gender and number. Here we've got a bit of a repetition of something we've got here, because certain words, let's say, certain parts of a sentence can be used as pronouns or adjectives, but that is really, let's not worry at all about that. But that is the reason why there is a bit of a repetition. And then verbs, obviously, verbi, we have seen only a few in the present tense, and we have seen that they do change according to obviously who is performing the action, meaning the verb. Every verb is an action, really. And so that we've got the endings, so those ones change according to the subject, so who is performing these actions, so they can be singular and plural. And then verbs also change in tenses. We've only seen the present tense, however, there is the past and the future and other tenses and modes, which is a little bit too soon to mention here. And now, which way? I think I'll stop sharing. And so these are the parts in a sentence that change in, as we said, number or gender. And we have seen quite a few examples of this really in our lessons. Now let's see some parts that do not change. Here, invariably. Invariably means they do not change. Again, here we've got less things that do not change. Preposizioni. We have seen the prepositions. These are the simple ones. They never change. They are always the same. I'm not really in complete agreement with this, the articolate don't change. They do, because the preposizioni articolate are, as we have seen, are these prepositions combined with the article, the definite article, which does change. So I actually do not agree with this, the second one. And then other expressions like behind, next to, together, etc. Those ones do not change. Congiunzioni or conjunctions, which are those words. Here we've got quite a few examples. We have seen only a few so far. going to translate them. It's always useful. And also, meanwhile or while, neither, even, or, that is, in fact, therefore, if, that, when, however, and quite a few more. So these ones do not change. Here we also have adverbs. Adverbs, normally we have different types, as you can see here. Again, don't worry too much about the different types. But let's see some of the words. So adverbs tells us how certain things are done, and then they just add some extra information to a verb, as I said, how such things are done, so they're connected to the verb. In a way, and take it a little bit, it's not, again, it's a grammar rule, but if you think adjectives are express a quality of nouns, and adverbs, they're almost adjectives of the verb, meaning they add some more information to the verb. Let's see what I mean. I'm going to translate some of these. Close and far. Careful, again, depending how you're using them. There and here, up, down, some expressions of time, no, in fact, expressions of time like tomorrow, immediately, always, often, never, after, later, and a bit, much, a lot, enough, kindly, well, and bad, badly. They do not change. Certainly, not, perhaps, probably. So these are all adverbs. As you can see, they are separated in groups, and because they have their own characteristics. So some refer to a location, a place, some refer to time, some quantity, some way, some is for negatives, etc., etc. And so these are the parts of a sentence that do not change. I hope you found this useful, and as usual, feel free to ask questions or explanations, and also suggest topics, which obviously I will cover when it makes sense. This is a course for beginners, so we need to follow a certain order and build gradually vocabulary and difficulty as well. So I hope, as I said, this was useful and has perhaps answered some questions that you were asking yourselves. And I will see you on our next lesson, which will be lesson 24, lezione 24. Arrivederci, ciao.